Hi guys, just wanted to do a quick overview of this LiTime battery that I just recently purchased. It's a lithium battery. As you can see here, the first kind of impression when I got this box is how neatly this battery is packed. I mean, you can see even the cardboard is so thick. And as you open this box, you'll notice it comes with 3 different instruction manuals, brochures, which I'll cover in a second. And then you'll also notice that right inside the box, there's some thick foam padding here to protect your battery. Here's some hardware. These are M8 bolts that are included, and some caps. And so let me take this out, and then you can see there is a battery right in here. And again, going along with just how neatly it is packed and how the manufacturer took the time to package it and ensure that it arrives safely and there's no issues with it. Very impressive. Taking out the battery, you'll notice again that it comes with that thick padding on the bottom as well. Let me get that out of let me throw this box down there. You can right away see that this is a very high quality battery, and the manufacturer definitely took time to package it neatly and safely to make sure that it arrives all here in one piece and without any damage. So here's the battery, and right away, a couple things that stand out. I mean, these handles are so nice. These are like a hard plastic handles that kind of fold in the middle for you to lift up. Being that it's a lithium battery, it's definitely much lighter. The battery, again, it looks just very good quality. There's no scuffs anywhere around this battery. There's no scratches. There's some caution decals on the back. All the decals look nice. They're not scratched. There's no peeling. The battery terminals actually have these plastic safety caps on them, which again is a nice feature. Again, it's not like one of those cheap plastic straps that you see on the lead acid batteries that keeps flexing and you end up beating up your knuckles. So again, just a very high quality product in my opinion. As you can see, this is a Group 24 battery, so it's a slightly smaller size than the typical 100 amp hour battery, and that's actually one of the reasons why I went ahead with this specific battery. Again, when you compare this to a Group 27 or Group 31 battery, such as the previous batteries that I had, they were the Optima Blue Top batteries. And a lot of guys are familiar with those batteries. I feel like they weigh close to 60 pounds. So this battery is a much lighter battery than those batteries, and it is much smaller size. So I actually have a tape measure here. Let me get that out and I'll do a quick measurement for you guys. So just bear with me here for a second. So right away you can see that this battery is about, what is that, about 10 inches and a quarter. And then here's the height is about 8 1/4, and width here is about 6 1/2. So much smaller battery, much lighter, and that's one of the reasons I went with this battery, is because again, it's lighter, it's smaller. So for my particular application, I do plan on using this battery with a 36-volt trolling motor. So I will wire 3 of these batteries in series, and they are located underneath the fishing rods in my boat. So getting out those Optima batteries was a big hassle because they're just big, bulky, and heavy, and there's just very little room there to get those batteries out. So this going down to this Group 24 size is going to be a big benefit for me, and it still has the 100 amp hour capacity just as those AGM batteries did. But again, lithium has a lot of properties that make it better than an AGM battery. And so, with that being said, this also is a smart battery, which means it has Bluetooth and it also has self-heating feature. So the Bluetooth, you simply would connect to it by scanning the QR code right up here, and then you connect to this specific battery by scanning that QR code up there. And so that's how you would connect to this battery, and I'll show you guys a screenshot of what the actual app looks like after you do connect to it. And so you might be wondering, well, why did I go with this smart battery with the Bluetooth capabilities? So having the Bluetooth capabilities allows me to monitor the state of charge of this battery. So for example, when I'm sitting on my couch and just watching fishing shows, I have the boat plugged into the charger, and I can just quickly open up my app and see whether the batteries are fully charged or not, or what's the status, what's happening with the batteries. The other thing is, when you're going out in the morning, you can quickly glance at the batteries and just see whether they were fully charged or what happened. And there's a couple other features in the app that I'll touch up on in just a second here. So now, what about this self-heating feature that this battery has? So again, there's a couple issues with lithium batteries. One of them being that you cannot charge lithium batteries when the temperatures are below freezing. So this is just kind of that's just a negative side of lithium batteries. So when you have a self-heating battery, this battery actually has two heating pads, one up top and one on the bottom. And what happens is they will turn on and they will bring this battery up to temperature for it to safely accept the charge from the charger. And the reason why that's important to me is because I live in a 4 climate area, and so basically in the winter time we do see weather below freezing, and obviously winter time it's below freezing, but maybe I'm not using the boat. But still, with early spring and then late fall, there are times when overnight the temperature does drop below freezing, but then during the day it goes into like mid 40s, sometimes maybe 50s, when it's a perfect day to be out fishing. And so with that being said, if I'm planning on fishing on a day like that and I plan on charging these batteries overnight as they sit in the boat, I wouldn't be able to do that if these batteries did not have this self-heating feature. So that's exactly the reason why I went with these self-heating batteries. And I'll explain a little bit more in detail on the self-heating feature. But let's kind of take a look at all the brochures that come with this battery. So that's another thing about this battery and about this brand. Again, they could have just thrown in a printed piece of paper just explaining the basics of things, but they went ahead and they included 3 different manuals. So they included a quick start guide. The quick start guide basically goes over how to set your battery up, and it does explain that this battery comes charged with about 30 to 50% when it arrives to you. So I think that's like a shipping restriction, but the bottom line is that what happens is, when you get this battery, you need to hook it up to a lithium charger that has capability to wake up the batteries because of its low state of charge. Many chargers will not recognize this battery. So I'm using a NOCO Genius 3-bank battery charger, and it does have a force mode charging option, and so I can use that to bring this battery online and then have it start charging. And here's just some kind of basic rigging ideas that you should be aware of. So that's just a little quick start guide. Here's another piece of paper that's again printed in a high quality, like almost a poster like paper. The ink's very nice, and it has the QR code to the app, and it basically tells you how to get this battery connected to your phone. So the way you do that is you have to charge the battery for about 10 seconds, which will wake this battery up, the BMS, and then you can download the app via the QR code, then scan the QR code right up here, and it'll find your battery and it'll connect it to your phone. So again, you know, not a lot of they didn't have to include this paper, but they went ahead and did it. So that again shows the brand's commitment to this to this product, and so that's why I think it's a high quality product. Here's a product manual that they included as well, and and goes into a lot more details as well. And so again, on the first page, actually, you'll notice here are the actual dimensions of the battery. So it's physically a much smaller battery. And then here it talks about the app, and then just a couple safety and precautionary things, table of contents, specs of the battery. But what I did want to bring your attention to is this page here, which explains the self-heating feature. Here it shows actually the two heating pads and how they work, and what temperatures the heating pads engage at. And here's just a little bit of an explanation on how the heating works. And so basically the way that the heating on this battery works, and I didn't know this before I purchased this battery, and so it's probably very informational for me to share this with you guys so you're aware of it as well. But the primary charging mode, the primary way to turn on the heating pads on this battery is via the charger. The only thing is that you do have to have a charger that is capable of charging at 10 amps or more. If you do, then that means and when this battery is in a regular heating mode, so there's two modes, and I'll explain those in just a second, but when it's in a regular heating mode, and your charger outputs 10 amps, then basically the energy from the charger will go to the heating pads to warm this battery up, and then once it's up to temperature, it'll start charging the battery. Now, if your charger does not put out 10 amps per each bank, then what's going to happen is it's not going to activate this heating element. So just be aware of that if you have a charger that isn't putting out 10 amps you know, per bank, or 10 amps at all, then you won't be able to activate the heating element on here. And if you're trying to charge when it's below freezing, this battery will not take a charge. So the other heating mode that you can turn on via the Bluetooth app is called the energy efficient mode, and basically that mode utilizes both the charger and the battery to heat up the battery. And so again, when your charger is over 10 amps, it'll use the charger to heat up the battery. If your charger is less than 10 amps, then what happens is the BMS checks the state of charge of this battery. If it's over 20%, then it'll start using the charger to warm up the battery, and it'll supplement it with the actual battery to heat up the heating pads inside the battery. But if the state of charge of this battery is less than 20%, then it's not going to start the heating pads at all. So in other words, if your charger puts out less than 10 amps and the battery is depleted below 20%, you won't be able to utilize the heating feature of this battery. And so if it's cold overnight, you might not be able to charge it. So the next day when you try to go out fishing, and you know, you might be surprised why the battery is not charged. Well, that might be a reason why. And so the other thing about this energy efficient charging mode is that even when this battery is not hooked up to a charger, what it'll do is it'll turn on the heating elements if the temperature drops below a certain threshold. And what it's going to do is it's going to use the energy in the battery to warm up those heating pads if it's above 20% state of charge. But because the battery in my example is disconnected from the charger, it'll keep using the energy in the battery to heat the heating pads on. And then what it'll do is it eventually will completely deplete this battery, and it'll go below 20% state of charge. So then when you go to plug this this charger in, or this battery to a charger, and it is below 20% state of charge, and it is below freezing, this battery will not be recognized on the charger, because the BMS is not going to allow it to charge. And so, you know, again, you might be frustrated as to why this battery isn't charging. Well, that's possibly because you had this energy efficient mode turned on, which depleted the battery, and now it's cold weather and the battery doesn't take a charge, and so you have to wait till it's above freezing, or you have to wait until, or you have to use a 10 amp or greater charger, and then it'll start warming up the battery and then it'll charge it. So again, just be mindful of that. I didn't really understand this until I actually got this book and read through this book. So again, I think that it's very important, and I think it's a very good quality of this company that they included all this detailed information for you to understand how this battery functions. And here's just a couple hypothetical scenarios where each mode works better than the other. And so again, when you connect the Bluetooth app and connect this battery, you have the capability of selecting which heating mode you want to use. In my case, I will just use the regular mode because I don't want to deplete the battery when I don't need to charge it or I don't need to use it. And my charger does put out 10 amps per bank. So if that heating element does need to be warmed up, then my charger will do the job. So that's that's kind of explaining that heating feature. One way to avoid running into this issue is via the Bluetooth app. You do have the capability to completely turn off this battery. So meaning that you can charge it up to full capacity, and then you can just flip a toggle switch on this battery and it'll disconnect, and it'll completely turn off the battery. And then it won't be recognized until you power it on via a charger and the app. So you can do that. That's another option for ensuring that the battery is not depleted because of the heating elements cycling constantly. And then it kind of talks about different charging methods. In case you want to use it in a different application, it talks about the state of charge of the battery and the recommended cables. And another thing that I didn't know, going with a lithium battery in a fishing application, is that you have to balance these batteries. So I do have another lithium battery with a heating element on it, but the thing is that that's just a single standalone battery, so I never had to do this procedure, and I wasn't really even aware of it because it's just a single battery. But in this instance, I will be using 3 of these batteries wired in series, and so the app allows me to select different heating modes for each battery. It allows me to disconnect the batteries, connect them, monitor the state of charge. But again, going back to this page, what it explains to you is that you have to balance the batteries when you connect more than 2 batteries together, whether in series or in parallel. And so I'm not an electrical engineer, but the way that my understanding of these lithium batteries is that there's multiple cells inside this battery, and that the BMS in here tries to balance the the voltage between each one of the cells that is inside this battery. And so the BMS takes care of that. But when you wire multiple batteries together in a system, like a 36-volt trolling motor application, the BMS can only balance each battery by itself, but you cannot balance the entire system because there's not a BMS that controls the entire system. And so what that means is, even though this is a 12.8 volt battery, that's the nominal voltage, but in reality, this battery is somewhere around maybe 13.3 volts. And so when you get another battery connected in series, you might find out that that battery is 13.2 volts. And then you get another battery and you might find out that that battery is 13.4. So the bottom line is that each battery has a different voltage. And so when you connect all 3 of them together in a series configuration, what's going to happen is one of them is going to get depleted faster, and then it might take a charge faster or slower, or vice versa. But the bottom line is that they're not going to charge equally and discharge equally. And what that's going to happen is, what that's going to cause to do is the battery to degrade faster. And so for that reason, the company included this whole page here that explains to you about how to properly balance multiple batteries in a single system. So what you have to do is you have to charge each battery fully, and then once they're charged fully, you wire all the batteries in your system in a parallel configuration. So parallel means that you wire the pluses to the pluses and then the negatives to the negatives. So pluses to pluses is minus to minuses, positives to positives, and negatives to negatives. And so what that's going to do is it's going to help distribute the voltage between all the batteries. So if this one's a little higher than the next one, it'll balance it out and distribute some of that voltage to the next one and then to the next one. And so that all three batteries in the system maintain the same balance of voltage. And per this booklet, it recommends that you leave these batteries hooked up in this parallel configuration for 12 to 24 hours. And after 12 to 24 hours, the electricity should balance out between them. And at that point, you can go ahead and install the battery. So again, not something that I was aware of. But again, that's because I only ran a single lithium battery that was just powering my electronics. So now I will be running 3 for my trolling motor in a 36-volt system. So, again, I'm not sure if other lithium battery manufacturers include this much detail in their publication, but I do think that this is, kind of going above and beyond in keeping the user educated and knowledgeable of the features and functions of this battery. And again, there's just this booklet is like, it's printed on such a nice like poster paper, and like there's no misspellings, and there's no like bleeding of ink or anything like that. So again, I think it's a very high quality product, and I can't wait to install it in my boat and get out on the water. Thank you.